High schools are needing some really serious reform. Let's get started. I spent my last 19 years teaching in high schools, and I've watched over the years, and I even felt this way when I was in high school back in the dark ages, that by the time you reach your senior year, there's no reason for it. I have watched seniors, kind of like fumble along that year. They don't take any serious classes. Some of them really do, but a lot of them, they don't have to. At least here in Kansas, that's my experience, and I imagine it's similar in other places as well, that seniors only have to take English 4, or senior English, government, and maybe like a social class of some sort. Here in Kansas, it's financial literacy, but it could be like sociology, psychology, okay, and maybe potentially a math class. 3 classes, when they probably have a 7 or even an 8 period classes every semester. And my last year, I think I babysat probably half a dozen seniors. They didn't need my class. They were very pleasant children. I loved having them in class. They were so nice. I actually see one when we go out to eat at one of the restaurants in Wichita. I'll catch up with them a little bit. But they didn't need it. And there's no reason for them to have stayed in there. And actually, several of them, we have a class called Pass Card where they could leave in the spring semester and do other things. But I'm like, okay, so why don't we just graduate them early all the time? I actually mentioned this to a principal before COVID. So obviously nothing major happened, and then we recovered from COVID, and then that principal left. And I spent my last 2 years with a different principal. But I mentioned to my principal at the time, before COVID, I said, we could really get these kids out in 3.5 years. And I gave some reasons, like we could easily do this. But how do we get the classes done? They have to have English 4, and they've got to still have that government class. Pretty easily. So if you need a full credit in a class, well, double it up. Make it like for 2 hours. It's not that hard. They would take it first and second hour, okay? And then government, and then that social class or that financial literacy. Oh, we're up to half the day so far. And if they want to take a math class, they could take maybe even an accelerated math class. Oh goodness, we're up to 6 classes, and they could still have an elective as well. This works really great for the kids. And I think the schools are really nervous about trying to do something like this because it's not normal. Okay. We can think outside the box for a minute. By the way, if you haven't shown this video to an administrator or somebody in a school, you might want to do that, because hopefully maybe this idea can get spread and benefit so many kids. But here we go. So teachers and the administrators are like, but we can't make this happen. What will the teachers do? We got to have them teaching kids. Well, they can. So if we have the kids in first semester, and let's say it's semester A of the English class, well, they just take it the first hour of semester A till the end to that semester, and they've done all the work. And then the kids, some of those kids probably from that class would get done early, and some would still go on. So that teacher's still teaching, but with maybe a smaller group. Oh, wow, smaller class sizes. Ooh, that's great. And then, okay, so there's that second hour. So the first hour was English 4A, 4B, semester 2. So what does that teacher do? Well, there's always kids needing intervention in English, especially in that second semester. There's a lot of kids who maybe have failed first semester and they need to do some credit recovery. That teacher who had the seniors, and a lot of times teachers like teaching the seniors because they're a little bit more mature. They're not quite as squirrely as the freshmen. And so that could be, hey, you're going to get the accelerated seniors that are a really good group, but we're going to match you up with some intervention kids. Make sure that they can graduate. Okay, that can work. And it's super easy on the government and the social class or the financial literacy class because, you take one semester, you take the next one the other semester. And typically what's happening at any time is that those kids switch. There always is a government financial literacy teacher, and then the next semester they switch. And so one teacher teaches government all year long. The other one teaches the social class all year long. And so they just change kids. And so if their kids were to enroll in both of these classes for semester 1, then they just wouldn't continue on. They wouldn't stay with the group. Again, you'd have a smaller class size. Because then when they did that switch, the teacher is still covered. Math, well, I don't know. Again, I think it could work the same as English. If you had a math, let's just say Algebra 2. They get through first semester, and then they're doing second semester concurrently. Now, this can get kind of tricky because you have these two, you're like, but they learned so much here in the first semester, they need it for second semester. As they get through the first 9 weeks of the first quarter of that fall semester, then they're going to switch. So they're going to do first semester in 9 weeks because they're going to do it for 2 hours. Okay? That's a lot to commitment for math. I know, 2 hours a day of math. For some people, they would love it. For some people, that might be one step away from Satan. But then the second 9 weeks, those 2 hours will be focusing on that second semester. Yeah, it gets a little confusing, a little complicated, but it's not terribly difficult, and it can be easily done. If you have ever thought of like a high school that's heard of like the block scheduling, like a 4x4 schedule. I taught under this for many years, and where you teach 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. And so the classes were 90 minutes long, and they earned a credit in a semester. So 4 and 4, oh look, there's 8, okay? That's a lot of times block scheduling. It has to be on an even number to make sure it matches, so you don't have one semester of 4 and 1 3. What do you do with that time? So it works. So what happens to that math teacher who is teaching both classes, for 2 hours a day? Well, again, that's 2 hours again. If you've not been in high school in a while, math can be a really challenging subject, and it can be hard for kids to understand, especially after COVID, and they need so many credits to graduate, and it's hard. There's a lot of intervention that is still needed, and so that teacher, again, could then go back into doing more intervention, or the school could actually start an accelerated math program for all grades, not just seniors. So as a freshman, maybe you were to take 2 hours of Algebra 1 first semester. Second semester, 2 hours of geometry. Then as a sophomore, first semester, Algebra 2. Pre-calc trig. Yeah. So it could really work. But it's going to take people to do this, and it's going to take a change. And schools don't like change. When I mentioned it one time to a counselor, now this is, mind you, this was the counselor that scheduled my photography class first hour of the day in the dark. Yeah. I tried to explain that to her, but she's like, no, we can't do that. Those kids are just so young. They're not ready. Well, maybe not all seniors are. And I'm not saying every senior should be out in 3.5 years, but there's a lot of seniors out there that really could benefit from a 3.5-year program and get on with life. They could start college sooner. They could, but we're like, oh, they're just growing up so fast. It's not that they're growing up fast. It's just they're ready to move on to the next phase. When my daughter, she just graduated last year, we finished high school together. I watched a lot of her classmates, and they were different than the kids I taught, because these were my daughter's friends, and I knew them a little bit more in depth, had more vested in them, maybe. Not that I didn't have vestment in kids before, but I saw these kids, and I heard my daughter talking about these kids and saying how, hey, we really need to talk to Sally. We need to make sure she's here every day, especially that second semester. Seniors really get tired of school and they stop coming. It's sad. I've seen kids drop out and they're just like so close to graduation, and I just want to cry. It's like, what were you doing? You were so close to finishing, and you need this, even though high school doesn't seem like a very high level of education. It's that foundation you need to get to those next steps, to get to those technical schools, to get to the community colleges, the colleges. Yeah. And so I see kids that would drop out, and I'm like, oh, there's got to be a better way. And I think there really is. So if you haven't shared this video with an educator, please do so. Let them get this idea going in their school. I can't do it in my school anymore because I'm not there. I quit to become, I guess, a YouTuber, but I still have a passion for education. I still have a passion for kids. I still want them to be successful. I just hate all the bureaucracy and the red tape and some of the stupid decisions that are done. But in this plan, kids wouldn't be sitting in classes that they have no interest in, no investment in, and don't want to be there. Have you ever been around a high schooler that really doesn't want to do something? Sometimes they are less than charming. Sometimes they're little pricks. Yeah, they are. They're jerks. You don't want to be around that. And I had a few of those in my day, and it was not fun. You're like, oh, come on. I didn't put you in the class. You chose this class. Mind you, they were forced to choose a class. Yeah. So spread the word. Hopefully this can make a difference in the students' lives. Short video today. Next week, those of you followers, going back to cars. I'm going to look at my GT500. Anyway, see you guys.